Welcome to the 1994 Sydney Santa Claus Parade here on Channel 10. It's Sunday afternoon. Of course, yesterday's parade was rained out and rescheduled for today. We've got close to 80 entries in the parade this year on a cold and wintry day. Now we're just getting started here with the Sydney Police Department and Fire Department escorts. As you can see, lots of people along the parade route watching this year's parade. And I can tell you it's much warmer watching it at home than it is sitting here right now. The Fire Department escort. We're set up here on George Street on the Cooperators building. It gives us the best vantage point for the cameras for taping the parade. We'd like to say special thanks to the Cooperators on Wentworth Street and to Simons and George Street for their assistance in making this parade possible, helping us with the coverage of the parade. As you can see, a bit of snow is coming down and it's rather chilly, a lot of wind today. But that puts people in the Christmas spirit, I guess. Shaking hands with the children. This is the Nova Scotia Firefighters burn unit, I believe, and some of the firemen behind there. Sydney Fire Department. And we have a cadet marching band coming along in the parade route here now. As you can see, the flag's blowing in the breeze. Quite windy, and I guess it's kind of hard to hold on to those flags in this kind of wind. Once again, the cadet marching band. As we said before, we've got close to 80 entries in this year's parade, I guess making it probably the biggest parade so far. Coming up now, we have the Kinsman Club of Sydney float. Children waving, all bundled up. Quite the festive looking float there on the North Pole with its reindeer. Once again, the Kinsman Club of Sydney float. You're watching the 1994 Sydney Santa Claus Parade here on Community Channel 10. This is a great spot along the parade route. The road is quite wide, and here you have the Firth South Bar, Sparks and Brownies float. Going by there rather quickly. As you can see, the entrance in the parade stop and start as the parade makes its way down George Street, cutting on to Prince Street. It's quite a sharp turn, they have to go around there. So it slows things up a little bit as they're making the turn. Once again, the first South Bar Sparks and Brownies float in front of us. We have Marvin McDonald on camera this year, covering the parade as it goes along. He's up on top of the Cooperators building here. Some of the commercial entries going in front of us now. This is the Cape Breton Kennel Club float. And some of the dogs behind it, of course. Wishing no doubt they were on the float. A group of children certainly bundled up good for this type of weather. And colorful outfits. One thing you will see in this year's parade is a number of antique cars. In the parade, it's always nice to see those cars all shined up and looking in mint condition. Third Sydney Brownies. Merry Christmas from the Third Sydney Brownies. And we take a little pause here as no doubt the parade is making the turn once again on Prince Street. Slows things down a bit, that sharp turn. Some commercial entries going by in front of us now. Once again, you're watching the 1994 Sydney Santa Claus Parade here on Community Channel 10. Their position here on George Street on the Cooperators building. Actually on top of the garage. He shoots, he scores. The Oilers mascot, waving to the crowd here. Kiwanis Squadron Air Cadets. Marching band going by here now. And it certainly is windy, as evident by the flags blowing. Cold and windy. Moving by here rather quickly now, this part of the parade. Scuba Tech with trailer, and I guess that's the Nervous Wreck's entry. Certainly would be a nervous wreck on that boat. It's a nice entry in this year's parade. Some elves and characters going by here now, waving to the children and the crowd in general. Here's something you don't see very often, the Volkswagen Beetle. Clydesdales, they're always a popular entry in the parades, pulling the different wagons. Majestic animals for sure. You're watching the 1994 Sydney Santa Claus Parade here on Community Channel 10. th Sydney St. Joseph's. Cub Pack, I believe. St. John Ambulance, always an important part of our community, appearing at numerous events going on the island. I believe this is Frosty the Snowman, passing out treats of some kind to the children. And the retirees of the 90s, I do believe, gathering food along the parade route here for the St. Vincent de Paul Society. That's a great thing they're doing with this year's parade. Stopping here for a moment. It looks like we have some more transportation of the four-legged kind coming up here. And horses and wagons. Looks like they're making a great collection there along the parade route. That's great. It's definitely windy here this morning, or this afternoon I should say. 3 degrees as you can see on the sign there, but certainly with that wind it makes it seem much colder than that. Our horse and wagon entries are patiently waiting for the parade to start up again here. It does take some time for the bigger floats in this parade to clear that turn going from George Street to Prince Street. Okay, here we go again. Once again, a number of entries here of the horse and wagon type. Here we have the Colby St. Joseph Complex float. Quite a nice float at that. Lots of children on it. We're going to take a quick break here to have a look at the behind-the-scenes decorating of the Cape Breton Cable entry in this year's parade, which is coming up very shortly. And we're back to the parade, the 1994 Sydney Santa Claus Parade here on Community Channel 10. As you can see, the Cape Breton Cable entry in the parade this year. A Family Christmas from Malcolm Monroe. It's a nice float in the parade this year. And coming up, as you can hear, we have a marching band. I'm not sure of the name right now. As we mentioned earlier, a number of antique cars in this year's parade. Once again, we'd like to say special thanks to Simons on George Street and the Cooperators on Wentworth Street for their assistance in the coverage of this parade, helping us make the parade coverage possible. A cold and windy Sunday afternoon here. But even with the cold, you can have a cozy Academy Christmas, as you can see with their entry in the parade this year. Everybody's bundled up. Sydney Academy float. The Grand Lake Road Fire Department. Quite a big truck in this year's parade. As we get underway, moving here again. As you can see, our friends from Canada Post collecting letters along the parade route there, letters to Santa Claus, which will be mailed to the North Pole. And our friends, the Clydesdales, once again. The Cape Breton Masonic Parade Unit, and the Shrine Clowns, of course. They have a number of entries in this year's parade, or one big entry, I guess we could say, with the different trucks and flag carriers and such. Certainly a number of ornaments on that parade, on that float I should say. There's a second beetle we've seen in this parade. It's great work the Shriners are doing with the burn units. And as you can see how windy it is, the drug awareness banner is almost blowing out of their hands. I have to give them a lot of credit for holding on to that banner, And it's such a cold and windy day as today. Of course, we'd like to give credit and special thanks to everybody that's entered in this year's parade. Certainly making a great parade. A number of characters on that truck. If you drink and drive, it's to the clink for 5. And as you can hear, it sounds like we've got a number of fire trucks coming up here. A parade wouldn't be a parade without fire trucks. You're watching the 1994 Sydney Santa Claus Parade here on Community Channel 10. As you can see on the sign, it just said 3 p.m. and 2 degrees. Certainly does seem a lot colder than that with this wind. And we've got something a little different here in the parade. It's the Young Country Line Dancers. Very popular line dancing. And the Zerka Ukrainian Dancers. Merry Christmas from them. Another Air Cadet band here with their flags. It looks like we have another float coming up here. As the parade slows down for a second. certainly is nice to see so many people out here this afternoon, braving the elements to watch the parade. You're watching the 1994 Sydney Santa Claus Parade here on Community Channel 10. We're actually getting close to the end of the parade now. We've got a few more entries before jolly old St. Nicholas approaches. Another country entry in this year's parade, the Gone Country Christmas Float. As you can see, doing some line dancing right on the float. Nicely decorated float. And I believe up next we have the Nova Scotia Community College float. Nova Scotia Community College, the Cape Breton region. And the St. Anthony Daniel Youth Group. This is definitely a yearly favorite in the parade, the Jungle Book, with a number of characters from that story on that float. You are watching the 1994 Sydney Santa Claus Parade here on Community Channel 10. We've got a few more entries coming up, and then Santa Claus will be approaching shortly. And we just want to remind you to stay tuned after the parade. We've got some Yuletide specials coming up after the parade. Some programs we think you'll definitely have an interest in. And special thanks to Simons on George Street and the Cooperators on Wentworth Street for their assistance in helping us cover this year's parade. Once again, reminding you to stay tuned after the parade for some special programs. I'd like to thank everybody for watching the parade at this time, and we'll close it off here with the sights and sounds as Santa Claus approaches very shortly.
Wait, here we are. Hello, darling. Merry Christmas, everybody. Bye-bye. And we'll see you on Christmas Eve. Hello. Oh, my. You're in the spirit of even dancing here. How are you, Peter? Merry Christmas, Mr. Lumbercat.